Haidala Isis, Kalkajad Hinu Dihad Kilgakayang. I'm Erin Brillin, and I'm from the Haida and Cree Nations. Together with my husband, Andy Everson, we have dedicated ourselves to the revitalization and preservation of our cultures. But as each month passes, our communities along the coast lose precious elders. Every time an Indigenous elder passes, gone with them is a lifetime of wisdom that is lost to the coming generations. The next Ancestors podcast features Indigenous elders and cultural knowledge keepers who have amassed a wealth of knowledge to share with us all. Indigenous wisdom is needed now more than ever to help us navigate in these uncertain times. And through this podcast series, each episode will serve to preserve this valuable wisdom to share with the world before it's too late. So we're here today with Matriarch June Johnson. And she's a Kwakwala language speaker, and she runs a cultural group out of Campbell River, as well as doing the up-and-coming Chiefs training group. And you're just endlessly giving, and I'm so thankful that you decided to spend the afternoon with us today with this interview.
Gila Kesla. Nukwa Umagilis, Gayatlan La, the Likwito Wiwakai First Nation. And I'm just happy to be here, and Gila Kesla. Thank you for inviting me. So,
who are the people that you learned the most about culture from in your life, and what were some of the key teachings that you remember today?
I learned a lot, well, from both parents, but mostly my mom. Mm-hmm. But every day after dinner, it was just all the connections and making sure that I knew who these people were. And then my mother used to take me around visiting all the elders. She always looked after everybody. And then she, when she was young, she didn't go to residential. She was very fortunate that her dad must have hit her because he said, "You're not going. You have to stay and learn everything about the culture and what your role's going to be." So she didn't go, so she never learned to read or write. But my dad did go, and he told me that he was there 8 years. He said, "I graduated when I was 12. That's how much they put in my head." And he was very intelligent.
Wow.
And he was the speaker for our band for years, and he was the one that always went to meet with the government people. But he was really involved with the culture too. And he did a lot of stuff with Andy's grandfather and Andy Frank. Yeah. They had a group thing with all his young kids dancing at the hall over at Cape. They did quite a bit of stuff with the culture, even talking about it, always, having meetings, trying to make it go. And my mom, as soon as they said we could potlatch, my mom had a little thing going in Cape for my daughter, Sonia, when she was 10 months, and had a little feast and gave out. She said, "I do it the old way." She gave bread and, flour and stuff. She said, that's just how we did it with my parents, because her dad was the chief. But it was everything teaching. So then I think I was around 13, I guess, and she says, "Yep, now we're going to learn how to dance." And she called all us girls together, and so we went to Johnson Naknakins. He had a big living room, so we'd go over there, and he'd have all these tapes which he used to play every weekend, and you could hear it through the village. From these potlatches. Yeah, old reel-to-reel, and you could hear it. He had really good speakers that you could hear it through the whole village every weekend, and it was really neat because I always remembered that. So my mom got him to play the songs and then started teaching us how to dance. And my mom was a really good dancer, and so all us girls would jump off the bus and go running to old Johnson's place to go there and learn.
Practice?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And we'd go there 2-3 times a week, and that. So that's where I started to learn how to dance and with the culture, and I always really liked it. And but my mom was very strong in her beliefs in the culture, very, very strong, and just how she was taught by her parents, and knowing the protocols and everything. She just said, you know, I go anywhere, I don't have to say who I am. They know who I am. And I said, yeah, I'm learning that. I would say to her, because they would just say, who's your parents, and or
And
who's your
everybody
grand,
knew who
yeah,
she was.
yeah, or then they would know who I am.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it was then. And but she was really strong in teaching it. And when she was telling us, you know, you have to be very humble when you're learning your culture. You're not just showing off. You know. She had such a gentle heart that, you know, everybody just listened to her. And my sister didn't do the culture, but my mom figured, I guess I better be the one
Yeah.
to do it.
And were you the older?
Younger.
Oh, younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was always lectured all the time by my dad
Yeah.
when we'd have after dinner, and then, you know, he would talk about like the dances and the chiefs and stuff, and how he was connected to them, and that he was related, you know, to Henry Speck, and because he left documents and saying like the song dances that he gave him at potlatches, all the different chiefs that gave him names, and some songs at their potlatches.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just thought it was pretty awesome when you know how they did. They just worked together, all the chiefs, and like even in the village, and they'd come over to my dad's. Like that was before we had chief and council. They would have a meeting there. At the time I didn't know, but it was all the hereditary chiefs in the village that would come over and meet. And they would discuss what they would do for the band and how they were going to take care of them. Yeah, it was really important. And if somebody didn't agree with something and said, well, I want to do it this way, my dad said, we would just say, well, try your way. If it doesn't work, we'll do it his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't argue or anything.
Yeah,
They
more
just
collaborative.
Yeah, it was just that they talked about it, and they didn't scream around. They, you know, were very mellow.
Yeah.
And I always remembered that, like them just having a meeting and talking about what they could do for our people. Really important.
I do want to talk a little bit more about your involvement with training the younger chiefs, but I wanted to mention that you really emulate what a true matriarch is. And the part that really sticks out for me is how much you give back. And I can see that from your mother's teachings, and your mother really imparted that on you, that giving back is really the key. And I feel like you're constantly, you know, baking for people and cooking for people and teaching the culture. And to me, that is really the true heart of what a matriarch does. Can you remember any other teachings that your mother passed on to you about?
Well, she did. She took care of everybody in the village. If they were sick, she'd visit them and make them little casseroles or a little dinner for them if they were sick in bed. So I kind of learned all that from her.
Yeah.
And visited all the old ladies there, and most of them lived to be like 98 to 100 back then. And I didn't know any of them by their English names. I only knew them by their native names. From the time I started visiting with my mom, I must have been about 6. So it's only that I knew. And then when Andy Frank's sister Maggie married my mom's brother, it was like I didn't know she wasn't from there.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I used to stay with them all the time because I didn't like traveling to Vancouver with my mom and dad. I got car sick so badly, so I would stay with my auntie and my uncle. And I didn't know till I was probably 40 years old that she wasn't from there because she spoke our language so fluently. And yet she spoke 2 languages. She spoke the Puntlich and our Liquisto. Like, she really amazed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just loved my aunt and uncle. They were really good people. And very caring too, same as my mom. And then she had the Potlatch book, and that's where she wrote this story about the flood story that we have. And my dad wrote it in the Potlatch book. And a lot of the things were done in the language, how they wrote it, what they gave away and stuff. And then there was a part where the chiefs were put in there. And then we knew who the highest Eagle chief, was, and it was Bill Roberts. And so the rest of it I didn't really understand. And then they put all the Eagle chiefs that were below him, and it was really interesting. And I thought, there's all these young people, and culture is really important to me, that some of these young men don't even know that their grandfather was a high chief.
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of got them together and asked them to come for a meeting and told them that, we really need to start bringing our culture back, and for you guys to start taking your seats. So I invited Wedlady to come and mentor and talk to them, and I would have a luncheon for them, and they could ask questions. I would leave, and then I'd go teach the culture.
Oh, yeah.
At the hall while he was doing
Let
that.
the men do their thing.
Yeah. So that's why, and I thought it was just so important because, like, even grandchildren, they didn't even know he was a high chief in Cape Mudge. And I said, yeah, and I really think you should try and take a seat. And we really need to have our hereditary chiefs, to take their seats. So we're still working on some of them to come together, because I think it's really important. And it's important for their families to know, and for them to be able to give names to their families, and then they have that sense of belonging where they come from, and, and be proud of it. Because I know any of the potlatches you go to and the kids get their names, they're very proud.
Oh, yeah.
And they just, they just love, once they know they're part of it. And so that's one of the big reasons, and just trying to get that interest in the culture. And because so many of them, may go to potlatch once in a while. I don't think some of them even have, but, getting them interested to get back into the culture and learn. And Wedlady has been a really awesome mentor to them.
Yeah.
So, like, Sean took his seat, and we're waiting for, apparently, my nephew going to take his this spring and have a feast. So, yeah, so slowly, but just working on them to. They get nervous, and I said, you don't have to. You'll have all the help you need. And I said, and if you don't, I'll be there to help you.
Yeah.
So
what do you think some of the qualities are that make a good chief?
they need to be very humble, have integrity, because we do have some young ones that have been taking their seat, and they have attitudes. I'm a chief, don't you know who I am? And I get sad over that, because that they really need to learn where they stand and how they should act in these positions, and that they're part of taking care of their family also. And because it is really important for them to learn all that. They need to do this to take care of their family, and because a lot of them say, well, we don't have a chief. I said, you have one that should be taking the seat. And I said, we'll just have to keep pushing for them to, do it.
That's the one thing I keep hearing over and over about how whether it's a chief role or a matriarch role, that it's more of a responsibility than it is a privilege.
Yeah.
And to keep that humility about it, that your job is to work for your people.
Exactly, and to look after them.
Yeah.
And the women are always the ones behind.
Right.
Like, do a lot of the planning like I did, and Andy's mom.
Yeah. The driving force behind
said,
all of
this.
it.
Yeah. And because I was teasing my son and Rob. Yeah, and you just come to sit and look pretty.
Yeah, right? We're the ones sweating in the back.
But it's like, and it's still teaching them.
Yeah.
And just making sure everything is done right. Yeah. I just know the women are the ones that are usually really the ones that do most of the work. But it's nice when they all get together the night before, or a couple nights before, then all the chiefs get to discuss it.
Yeah.
And then they make the decision.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that responsibility comes to.
So you have been bringing in people to your cultural group that haven't been culturally involved, and how do you see that impact them when they go from not being participating in their culture to slowly and getting more comfortable with
They are getting really comfortable. Like we got 6 yesterday, brand new ones.
Oh, wow.
And we usually have about 50 now. There was 32 there yesterday. I went, oh my goodness. We just let them come and slowly and not to be nervous. And if they're really nervous, just sit and watch a couple times, and then you can get up and learn with the rest of them. And I said, don't think you're going to catch up to the rest of them in a couple of days. Sometimes it takes a couple of years for some of the younger ones. So one young girl, it took her 3 years to have enough confidence. And she's one of my better dancers now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and nope, I'm not doing this. But now she's one of the really good dancers.
Yeah.
But I started to see this, I think probably from the potlatch. A lot of them have started to come to the culture practice that had come to Andy's potlatch. And so how great it was, and because a lot of them don't get to travel to go to Lurt Bay or Port Hardy and stuff. So it was kind of neat to see them come. And we're very inclusive. We don't pick. We don't just say it, just Weewakai. It's for everyone. We've had like foster kids that were in non-native homes. So one of them raised them since they were babies. So, and like they were 6 when she would bring them, 6 years old at the time. And I just told the foster mom, you're so involved with them. It's time for you to learn because you have that closeness. And she comes to all the functions and dances now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and like we have Cree, we have Tlingit, like West Coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have big variety of them. And can't have their culture because it's way far away. So I said, well, come and learn ours if it helps you feeling grounded, and it's good for your children. So that's probably why a lot of them come, because they can't have their culture because it's far away. And I said, well, come learn ours.
Yeah.
And they're having fun.
Do you find that anyone has issues with having people that are not from the West Coast side going? You don't ever hear any critique about that?
They won't say anything to me.
No, they wouldn't dare.
They won't. They think they know better.
Yeah. You also do workshops with traditional plants, and so you have a lot of knowledge with that, and I really want to delve into that. So what are some of your favorite plants to work with?
The Devil's Club and the balsam bark and alder bark teas, because the balsam bark is such a strong medicine.
Is that the one that has anti-cancer properties?
And it also has so many vitamins in it. And that was what they gave to Cartier, and then when they had scurvy, the colonists, when they came over, was they gave them the balsam bark that saved them. And our warriors used to drink it for strength. And you'll always get a bit of pitch in there, which is a healer too. You won't taste it, but it's in there. And it's a really good medicine for, you have stomach problems and stuff. I started drinking it about a month ago again, because after I had my gallbladder out, I was having problems. So I started drinking it to make myself feel better and to heal. And the alder bark is really important. That also was used for cancer properties, because my aunt, she died when she was 90, but when she had cancer, she was probably about 30, breast cancer, and then she had her breast removed, and got her, when she went home, this is before chemo, so she went home and got her husband and son to go get her alder bark and balsam bark. She said within 10 days, she said, I could feel it. I was so itchy inside. She said, I knew I was healing. And she drank it till she passed away. She drank it every day. She would drink a cup of it.
Wow.
Because alder bark has antibiotics too, and it's really good for lungs, colds. But like you can even use it as a wash.
In like the bath?
Yeah, like if you put some bark in a bath. My dog had an infection on his back, and I was bringing him to the vet. So I heated up some and put it in a big tub, and I bathed him in it for a couple of days, and it cleared up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and but it is, you can wash with it, especially people if they get boils and infections, wash it with it. Just put some in, heat it up, and wash with it.
How do you harvest the bark? Is there specific ways?
Yeah,
to do
I
it?
usually go from end of May to July, end of July. And we only harvest the small trees because they're the highest in the vitamins and the medicinal values in them. So when we go to take the balsam bark, we only take like about a 4x6 piece off the tree. Yeah, so the smaller trees are the ones that really work well.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky today now that we have guardians,
Yeah.
because the guardians went and got my stuff this year because I was sick
Oh, yeah.
from July to end of August, and they brought my barks and stuff.
That's great because they're out there anyways.
Yeah.
So that's
So
good.
they brought all that. So next year I asked them if they can go, because below where I live, near the river, there's a whole bunch of Devil's Club. But it's
yeah.
so steep to go down, and I said, well, maybe you better fix the trail that goes
make it
down.
easier to get
down
down
there, yeah.
Yeah.
So they said they will ask to work on it in the spring. So
And with the Devil's Club, do you also harvest that in the spring as well?
yeah, and May till July, because when it gets too hot, it won't come off. Like the bark won't come off the stick. It's like a stick.
Do you dry the Devil's Club first? Do you dry it out before
Yeah.
you get the outer
Yeah.
part off?
No, I take the outer bark, which is brown, I take that off, and then I take the green part that is inside. There's a green, another bark in there, but it's green. And I usually just take a X-Acto knife, and you can just peel the whole thing off. But I don't waste anything either. The stem has a really smooth stick. So usually what people used to hang them outside the big houses to keep negativity away. So I decided, well, I'll make bracelets for our Native students at North Island College.
With the beads?
Yeah, so they could, to give them positivity and no
Yeah.
negativity. So that's why I made them to give to them.
Do you know if the beads were ever worn traditionally or if that's a newer thing?
I don't think so. I haven't seen any like old stuff with it on.
How do you handle the Devil's Club with it's got such deadly...
I use
Spikes.
welder's gloves.
Oh, okay.
Then I use the paint scraper. It's got a flat thing on the end,
Oh,
and it's got
okay.
the spines there, so it just go like that and it just takes them all off.
Ah.
And then we
That's a
just
good
peel
trick.
them, yeah. And then I have a screen where I dry them out in the sun.
I always, anytime we've harvested, I always just think, how did our people do this without all these tools? You know, just those thorns are nasty.
I know they are.
They're
But yeah,
weapons.
so figured it out. Didn't take much to figure out how to do it,
Yeah.
make it a lot easier.
Do you find that some people dig the roots under the ground?
Yeah.
Do you do that as well, or do you use the
It's
ones that
just
are
too
above
much
ground?
it's just too much work.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about the generations down the road. They started digging them up for the roots and just threw the rest away. And then there was almost nothing. There was hardly any Devil's Club because people dug the whole thing out.
Like, how do you feel about people not of the culture going out and harvesting our plants and things like that? Like, I don't feel like it's appropriate for people to do that unless they've actually gotten the approval or have gone along with somebody from the culture. How do you
don't-
feel about that?
I don't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people like up near our reserve that have come out and they had a big van and they just loaded it up, and I went and asked them, did you ask anyone to come in their territory to harvest all this? And I said, I'm not happy with this. And I'm not happy when it's a non-native
Yeah.
doing it and selling it. To me, you're doing it for money, and I always feel that the medicine isn't going to work if it's just for greed. You have to have your heart in it for it to work.
For Indigenous people, we're always so cognizant of being on other people's territory, and that recognizing that that's their property, and that it's
you
the
need
same
to
as
ask.
stealing to just go and take something that you really do need to get permissions. And
Exactly.
and so when non-Indigenous people don't have that same awareness of space and ownership and things like
Yeah.
that,
And yeah, it upsets me. I just don't like it. I asked them to leave because I said, I don't think it's right.
yeah.
And that because they continue to do that, we're not going to have a lot. Like, we're already having problems with some of the medicinals. I have to drive quite a ways because of the clear-cut logging, because mostly all the plants and stuff grow underneath the stuff that, we collect. And in 2018, the pharmaceuticals announced that Devil's Club was the best medicine for diabetics. It was on the
really?
news, and I went, oh, wow.
It regulates blood sugars and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Wow. Have you ever made like a tincture of it? Devil's
Yeah.
Club? Yeah.
Yeah, and you use, it's 150 over
The alcohol, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you leave it sitting for
Yeah.
a month or so or more?
About 4 months.
Oh, 4 months, yeah.
It's the same as when I leave the Devil's Club in oil. Like, if I'm good, like after I've dried it out, then I put it in the oil. I'll leave it for about 4 months so that the oil is going to absorb all the medicinal
And
qualities.
that's for when you're making the balms?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
salves and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually and people always say, well, how do you make it? I said, I can't tell you. I just because a lot of non-natives will ask. And I said, no, I can't tell you. My ancestors will be upset if I did.
Yeah.
Because some of them are going to use it and then, oh, I can make this and we'll
And go sell it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you recommend that people don't harvest unless they're with an Indigenous
Yeah.
person, or
Somebody that knows the plants, because there's some that look the same.
right?
Because the bear stem parsley and the water hemlock look almost the same, and one's poison.
One's super toxic, right?
Yeah, poisonous, yeah.
And they look very similar.
I probably learned quite a bit from my mom, because when I was a kid, of course, I was a tomboy, I stepped on a rusty nail and it was really infected on my foot. And I couldn't walk on it, so hobbling around there, and she says, you just wait here. So she put some salt and really warm water, soaked my foot. She said, I'll be right back. And she took off, and it seemed like forever for her to come back, but she did. She came back with some pitch, and she heated it up on the stove. Pitch was still, warm. She put it on my foot and wrapped it up, and the next day it was okay.
What tree was the pitch from? Do you remember?
The Sitka spruce.
Oh.
It's a stronger one, but also the fir will work. The fir, if you can get fir, and it's easier to get, the fir will work the same. The fir from the fir tree.
Can you make like big jars of tea, and will it last?
About a month.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
but always heat it up in the pot, not in the microwave. It'll take away.
And it's okay to boil it?
Yeah,
really
simmer.
boil it for a while?
You don't have to, just simmer it on the stove for about 15 minutes. And and I just put it in those cur jars, and then I'll just put it in a pot and heat it up. But I don't microwave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll just take the medicinal values out of it. But I usually have them in my fridge. And
Your immune system's strong, hey?
yeah, that's probably why I didn't get sick.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I tried to tell him, but he started to drink the tea, and he said, I can't believe I'm not hacking. I said, what did I tell you?
Yeah.
I said, see, now you're not sick.
Yeah.
Because he started drinking it and finally listened to me.
Yeah.
But I was drinking it because I didn't want to get it. But yeah. So, and then the tea and the salve is really good. Like, the salve is really good for eczema. So he went home with it.
I've gotten your elderberry syrup a number of times, but I don't get sick very often. I end up giving it to my kids. Usually Marlo gets Marlo and Carver will get a cold, and I'll be like, well, I have June's elderberry syrup. I'll give it to you because I don't get sick very often.
Same here.
Yeah.
Those medicines, and like even with the plantain that everybody gets in their yard.
Everyone thinks it's a weed.
Yeah, you just crunch it up if you get a bee sting.
Oh.
Yeah, or even mosquito bite, just crunch it up and rub it on, and it will fix it. So I just decided to make the salve out of it too.
Oh.
Yeah. I had a patch behind my shed there of stinging nettle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I just take the whole thing, and I have a screen that I just dry it in the sun.
Does it come back every year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
it works good. So Stacia and I are trying to find somebody to build a box that we can put the cajamine we have, the cow's parsnip,
Right.
to grow in it, because I know it'll grow there. We wouldn't have to go so far to.
Right. Just in your backyard.
Yeah, that one is quite strong, and like before it grows to flowers, stem, you cut it, it tastes like celery. That was our Indian celery. My dad used to harvest it, and I remember him coming home with like a bundle of it, and I said, what is that? He said, it's our Indian celery, but he would have it with Sam Henderson, and they would dip it in glitna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And eat it like a vegetable.
Well, yeah.
I guess that part of it not as medicinal? It's just more, it's like nutritional, more like food?
Yeah, and vitamins and stuff, yeah. But he used to come home with like, and they would get them where the stalks are nice, big, fat ones,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and you can just peel them.
And what time of year do you harvest
That
the
would be
seed
in
pods?
May, the stalk before the flowers come. And then if you're not harvesting, then it'll grow the flowers and then all the seeds.
The seeds come in
It's the end of June.
Okay.
And then July. And usually I'll just cut the stems. So you're not killing the whole plant, and throw it in a garbage bag, and you can shake it all, and it'll be all good. So I'm teaching her to go and harvest for me now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I learned from Granny, and I said you need to learn, because I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And there's not hardly anybody that knows about our medicinal, so I think it's time you learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, grandchildren to get involved in there.
Do you harvest the elderberry in like around your area?
Yeah. So
And there's different varieties too, right?
Yeah. The black elderberry and the red.
And they're both good?
Yeah. I just, you have to, the only thing is you have to cook the red ones for quite a while, because they do have something in it. So it's like, you know, they would say poison, but it's not. But it's really strong that you have to
Make sure it goes away when you're cooking it.
Yeah.
And what else do you add to the syrup? Like, how do you make it last? Like, it lasts
Honey.
for quite a while.
Honey will last forever.
Preservative, right?
Yeah. Honey will last for hundreds of years. So, yeah, I always put honey in it, and then I put some cloves. I like to take it before I get a cold.
Yeah.
It seems to build up the immune a bit.
Or like at the first
Yeah.
little inkling, like you might be getting something.
Yeah. But I really enjoy like taking the kids to go, because I've taken classes.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of workshops with the grade 11 and 12s, and they're really, they're quite interested in it. Some of the younger ones, you know, they just go all over, but but if it's like 7 and 8, they kind of, they'll ask questions and stuff, yeah. We go on these, taking them out for the plant walks, and adults. I've even taken the guardians.
Right. Well, they need to learn.
Yeah. And that they need to learn in their territories. And I said, ribbon them off wherever you see a lot, so you know you can preserve it there without it all getting mowed down or whatever. And that's the big worry I have when at the logging. I used to be able to get our kachamine behind our area, and it was all clear cut and nothing. When we take the kids out to show them how to strip cedar, you only take one strip off. Because I've seen, I don't know where they were from, but they stripped one whole tree. It just, why?
Just kill the tree, why don't you?
Yeah, because they obviously haven't learned.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were native or non-native, but the whole tree was stripped, and I showed the kids, this is one thing you never do, is strip the whole.
I think about how cultures are always evolving and adapting. Things change over time. Are there certain parts of the culture that you feel that need to remain traditional and not adapt?
No, I'm against the evolving, because we end up having too many arguments over it with young people, and they say, well, culture is evolving. No, it isn't. If you listen to the protocols and you listen to the elders when they're telling you, we need to bring it back the way it was. I learned the old way, and I think our young people should learn the same. And like even with some of the young chiefs, you know, they try and change stuff, and I just like, I just think that it's important to learn from the elders and the way it was.
So your dad was the one who wrote that potlatch book?
No, my uncle.
Oh,
Major,
your uncle.
My mom's brother.
And so that's a really good resource then.
Yeah.
So you have something actually written to be like, this is...
Yeah, it is. So when people argued with me, I said, I am not doing anything wrong, because I did have a couple people that were saying that I was stealing from somebody's treasure box. I said, no. Anything I've put out there, it came from the potlatch book. And the potlatch book does not lie. They're written in there who were the chiefs. So why would I change it?
Yeah.
You know? So this is why I have been working really hard to have our league with the young men to take their seats.
So they have that record now too, right?
Yeah.
That they can refer back to.
Yeah.
And are there actual protocols written in there? Or?
Well, it's all in the language. I haven't gone through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But most of it is what they gave away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at these potlatches. And they had to been at my mom's dad's potlatches. It was 1911 when these were written in there. And then later on years, I don't know, maybe 1920, when they put the head of the chiefs that were the Liquidor chiefs. Yeah, we're all in there.
I think that's great because I know that Andy's family too did a lot of documentation about things, and they've got written documentation and recordings and things like that. And it really does help set things straight when some families are misguided and have, other ideas.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, the evidence is here, folks. You can't like make things up when you have the actual written records.
Exactly. Because
audio.
yeah, because like the songs my dad had, like he wrote everything down, and when we started to figure it out, and Frank Nelson was there, and we were looking at the recordings, and it took me 10 years to find somebody because it was on reel-to-reel.
Oh.
And my dad had stated they were recordings from his uncles, and he says their names, but their names are all in the language. And Mike said that was his grandfather that sang the songs for my dad.
Oh, wow.
But when we matched it up with the names and the dances, they all connected with the real songs when my dad wrote them down. So he had the foresight of knowing somebody was going to follow what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. With them, with the older men, the chiefs, it wasn't about greed, it was about sharing.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I saw.
Well, I'm really grateful for culture keepers like you to take the time to teach everybody, that all the people that you teach to, and to take the time to sit with us this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, because I just think like with our culture, nobody was doing it. So I decided, well, got to revitalize it.
Yeah.
And it's important for our children, so I took it upon myself.
Yeah, Amy, you're a one busy lady.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I get tired, but I still enjoy it because when I see them all get up to dance, then I feel really good. It's all worth it.
I'm really also grateful that you took the time to come up to Haida Gwaii for my first clan feast in over 150
it was so
years.
Awesome. I was so impressed. Yeah.
One of my favorite pictures isn't even of the feast; it's of you and Mary holding hands on the plane.
We were both scared. Yeah.
I love that one.
That was really nice, and thank you for inviting me. It was great.
Yeah, I'm really glad you were there.
I was telling my family, I said, it was just so awesome.
Yeah.
And they said, boy, you sure get around, I said.